Hello networkers and welcome back to another episode for Ask the Network Engineer. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe and check out the playlist of all the videos for Ask the Network Engineer. Ask a lot of questions, and if you have any questions about being a network engineer that is not in our playlist, then you can go to routhub.net/ANE. You can also support this channel by going to routhub.net. We got a lot of great training courses and plans for a lot of different topics. So check that out. Okay, in this episode, we are going to finally have the episode about the question that was posted and voted a lot on the website, which is, what is your opinion of exam dumps and cheating among network engineers? Okay, this has been a question long in the making. So what triggered this question in the first place? Well, it was a number of things. I've done various episodes that I talked about that I have interviewed a lot of people. And I may ask some questions about like, how do you configure OSPF or a technology or protocol? And the interviewer just could not answer the question, but they're certified. One person was a CCIE certified, and I was asking questions about access lists. Specifically, I was saying, how do you filter traffic with an access list based on the source port number? Most people don't typically do that. That's not something that's commonly done, but based on the application, you might have to do that. He didn't know that you could actually filter the port number, the source port number, right? So that particular episode, a lot of people started posting a lot of different comments saying that those people very likely use exam dumps to get their certification if they can't get through the interview and answer very basic questions, right? And I also did another video talking about I think this was an off topic where I talked about the Cisco Continued Education Program. It's a new way of taking courses for a particular number of points to recertify. And I did that for my recent recertification for my CCIE, and I love it, right? And I talked about in that video that was probably the direction that Cisco was trying to do for some of their veterans who've been certified for such a long time. Because Cisco, among other vendors, know about what is happening for the value of the certifications. And that's what's going to be the big part of this episode. And the value of the certifications has been impacted because of exam dumps and cheating among network engineers. So all of that has triggered to officially do a video where I will now talk about exam dumps. I will talk about what is exam dumps. I'm pretty sure if you're in the IT field, even watching my channel, you probably are very much aware and have maybe participated in using exam dumps in one form or another. I will talk about what are the consequences of people who do cheat on these exams and if they're caught. I will talk about why do people do this in the first place. But I also will talk about the side effects and how that affects you more than it actually affects me. That's something really, really important. And then I will share a personal story of why being qualified and experienced is really important to a company, because you might be in a situation where you might have to solve a problem and everybody's looking over your shoulders. So I want to share with you that particular story. And that is it. Now, first things first, before we get started, I want to make this very, very clear. I am not here to lecture anyone. You're all adults or young adults getting into this field of being a network engineer, or maybe getting into the IT field. You never know, right? That's not my place. I'm not going to lecture you, okay? The only personal thing that I will say in this video is that I have very different core values, probably different than what most people probably don't have. So I value things like integrity. I value things like quality. I value intelligence, education, advanced skills. I value doing the right thing and being a good person. I believe in accountability. Those are things that I believe in, right? And so yes, of course, I would disapprove of exam dumps and cheating, okay? Look, I get it, we're all not perfect. The world is not perfect. We get screwed all the time. You know, certain things don't happen the way that it should happen. I totally get that, right? But the things that we do does lead to consequences and effects that can make it harder for you to succeed. Okay, so with that out the way, what are exam dumps? So again, I'm pretty sure that many of you have heard of that, okay, and have probably used it, okay? But exam dumps is simply just test questions. These are websites that are selling the actual test questions for a lot of the big vendor certifications out there. So the actual test questions for the CCNA and the CCNP and the CCIE written exam. There's also others for like Microsoft and for VMware. A lot of these companies are, and by the way, all these companies, Cisco, sonicwall, VMware, Microsoft, Palo Networks, the list goes on, you get the idea. They know about these exam dumps and they always try to improve on basically making those exam dumps irrelevant, adding in more questions so that you're getting new questions every single time. They're changing how you take the exams, things like that. I know for VMware, there were people that I know, I'm not going to call them out, but there's people that were trying to get the VMware certification and they kept failing the exam, right? Because all the exam dumps just did not have the correct questions. So that's, again, VMware's really taking this seriously of trying to damage exam dumps websites and these test questions. Okay, but understand something. There are consequences if you're caught cheating or using exam dump information. You know that when you take an exam, you go to a testing center and they take a picture of you and they also give you something to sign, like an agreement. Most people don't read that agreement, okay? I have read that agreement before, word for word. So you should read that and simply put that if you're caught cheating, you're basically disbarred. You're banned for life from Cisco. At least Cisco. I haven't read the other agreements, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty much the same. You're going to be banned and revoked from that certification and from future certifications. So understand the consequences and also understand when you sign something, try to read what you're signing and to agree to those particular terms. So why do people use exam dumps? There's probably a lot of reasons, but what I have seen in a lot of companies that people use the exam dumps is that there's really two main reasons why people do it. Number one is to meet a requirement by the company. So a company will often say that we want to have a partnership. We want to be a Cisco Go partner. We want to have a specialty in voice or security, storage, things like that, right? But in order to do that, they must have a certain number of people that are certified, right? Whether it's in storage or sales, whatever it might be. And it might be a certification that a person says, heck, that's not even my job. But these companies are giving bonuses. It could be $1,000 per test. Come on, you're telling me that no one's gonna fall for that? Of course they will, okay? That is great money, money that they can have in their pocket. So what do? You know, they're like, I'm not a storage expert. So they get test questions and they memorize the test questions, pass the test, certified, give it to their employer, and they get their bonus. So that is one of the big reasons why people will use exam dumps, because that's not their job in the first place, and that money is very enticing. Another reason why people do it is, well, is a quick way to move up fast with very minimal work. People want to get their foot in the door. They know that certifications can make those chances better, but they look at it as, well, these certification tests are BS. They're useless. I have said that numerous times throughout many episodes on here. So people are saying, look, I just want to get this certification. I want to get the opportunity, okay? And then I will do the right path and really get that experience seriously, but I need my foot in the door. I need to do something. So I'll do whatever it takes to get certified, to get that experience, right? So that's typically why people will do and use exam dumps. But there are side effects. The side effects is that with the exam dumps and the test questions that are out there, and this also extends out even with learning material, there is so much certification learning material, it is everywhere. My goodness, it is everywhere. There's boot camps for CCNA and CCNP and the CCIE. There's like lab exams that you can get. A lot of learning plus the exam dumps. There's so much information, okay? And one of the things that I have personally experienced is that the value of the certification in the past was greater than what it is now. Being certified in the past was such a huge accomplishment. It was such a big deal. It was something that companies were looking at and valuing, like seriously valuing. I remember when I got my CCNA in 1998, and that was a hard exam. Because again, there was no exam dumps. There were no test questions. There weren't many books to begin with. That was painful. That was very painful. But when I got certified with my CCNA, and I was at Cisco at the time, that was a big deal. Cisco really just kind of put out the red carpet, like, you're CCNA certified? Because of that, I also got hired into my next company because I was a CCNA certified person. Does that happen today? Very unlikely, right? The value of the certifications was something that was really revered and looked upon, and companies took that seriously. So when they saw that you had a CCNA or a CCNP or a CCIE, we want that person now. What do you want? We'll give you bonuses, good salary. It was a big deal. And I think the big value behind that, because of the difficulty to study for it, that there was no material out there. And over the years, more people have been getting certified at a very, very fast rate because there's so much learning material out there, including the exam dumps. And guess what? Small companies, yeah, they may not know about exam dumps, but guess what? They don't require a network engineer in the first place, right? They don't. Network engineers typically end up in medium and large and very large environments. Those companies, they are fully aware of exam dumps and test questions, okay? As a result, the value of certifications are not really seen as praise and as, it's not as praised anymore by companies anymore. And it becomes more of, is the rise of practical learning and experience. So these certifications are no longer seen as the only verified source that a company can use. And that's why they don't look at that. And that has really been, ever since I started this channel, and specifically this playlist of Ask the Network Engineer, many of your questions has been surrounding this particular problem that I'm eventually alluding to now, okay? That many of you have been saying that it is impossible to really get a job as a network engineer. The interview questions or the requirements that they're asking is like, they want you to have experience. But, how do I get that experience? So you've been struggling with that. And this is one of the components. It's not the only component. I want to make that clear. It's not because of exam dumps, but it is a huge factor of why it is challenging for you to get a job as a network engineer. Because this is one of the side effects. And keep in mind, this is affecting people who are starting out as networking people. This isn't affecting someone like myself or other people with very similar years of experience. It's not affecting us. I see with certain job postings where sometimes I saw this one job posting that talked about that they were looking for specifically like a 15-year CCIE or a 4-digit CCIE. I never heard that one before. But they were being very clear that they want that type of engineer for their company because they know that the value of the certification was higher in that time compared to what it is now. I personally see that. So this makes it harder for people who are starting out because you're getting certified. Now you want to become a network engineer, but you're seeing job postings that are talking about experience. The last couple questions that I asked was, that the interview was talking about practical questions that was not on their certification exam. And you said, well, how did I learn that? These are all symptoms of what I'm talking about with the exam dumps, that it makes it difficult now for a company to really evaluate the true worth and experience of a person who's coming into the organization. And that is very, very unfortunate, but that is something that you have to keep in mind about. This is what's happening for the exam dumps. This doesn't mean that everyone's cheating with the exam dumps. This doesn't mean that everyone is cheating, right? There are people that do study really hard and they get certified and they're still getting, and they're unable to get these opportunities because, again, it is a side effect of what these exam dumps are doing. It's making the value of the certifications go down year after year and making the requirement of practical experience just rise. And that's what's really going on.